It's like creatine plus, bro. It's literally the steroid for females.
That's a lie. Coach Greg, in today's video, we're going to be talking about steroids, namely anavar, of which some people are saying this is only a steroid for females, that it really doesn't work for men. And so what amuses me is that myself and Derek have made videos on essentially all steroids several years ago. But in today's day and age, we have kids. They're guys in their teenage years, perhaps early 20s. They haven't got all the research. They barely even started using steroids themselves, but now they're so-called experts. And so they're out on the internet glorifying steroids, talking about them, acting as if they know anything about them. These are not coaches. I don't believe they have any formal education about these things, but yet people are listening to them. And so what I'm going to do is correct the misinformation that's out there and give you what you need to know about anavar. And so we got a guy here. He says that anavar is essentially like creatine plus. It's a little bit stronger than creatine. Call it creatine plus. If I'm watching this video and I'm a guy, I'm thinking, it's pretty weak. It's pretty mild. Not even bother. It's essentially just creatine plus. Guys, creatine plus is Turk builder and ect builder. These much more powerful than creatine, going to put on more muscle than creatine, and are 100% natural. Anavar is a banned performance enhancing drug. It's a steroid. It's not just some over-the-counter supplement that you add into your cycle that's pretty much made for girls.
Anavar, absolute dog shit oral. Everyone says when you first hop on steroids, oh, take Anavar, it's mild. Hardly any side effects. You know what there's also not any of? Pros. It doesn't make you any more jacked.
And so he calls anavar, which is one of the most popular and sought after steroids in the entire world, probably the most common oral steroid used by females as well as males that I've seen in professional bodybuilding. Not only do pros use it, but amateurs as well. And so he says, hey, people are saying it doesn't offer hardly any side effects. And what it also doesn't offer is hardly any gains. Nothing could be further from the truth. You're really going to downplay the effects of anavar to make it look like it doesn't work? If you're using anavar and you're saying it doesn't work, then you're either not using real anavar or your expectations are ludicrous. Yeah, the guy in this video, he's probably taking Testosterone. And so in comparison, anavar is kind of mild in comparison to some of the strongest steroids in the world. And so sure, are you going to put on 25 pounds of muscle in a matter of weeks on anavar? Of course not. But what drugs are you going to make those kind of gains? And so please have realistic expectations. And for the most part, if you're not putting on 50 pounds on your bench press, if you're a male, on a 12-week cycle anavar, well, you probably don't have the best genetics. Anavar is legit. Trust me, even on female doses, I notice it. And what are female doses? Well, typical females in bikini using 10 to 20 milligrams a day. I know it sounds like a lot, and it is, but these are what women are taking. And trust me, many are taking a lot more. If I'm taking 20 milligrams of anavar, trust me, I can feel it, and I'm an IFBB pro.
It doesn't make you any more fucking jacked.
That's a lie. And so why is he allowed to spread misinformation? Should I just sit here and watch him lie about anavar and become the new guru and explain to people what you should know about it, to explain the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly? Or should I not make these videos? Remember, I've already done these videos. You want to look up my video on anavar? Greg Doucette, IFBB Pro, Anavar Explained. Just say no. And if you watch this video, you're going to see me explain everything. The pros, the cons, everything, and I discourage its use.
This is not an ad to take steroids. It is an ad to say, do not take them.
I explain what it does, what it doesn't do, what it can do to your body. I explain everything in detail. And so if you want to know, you can watch that video. But of course, you can watch this one.
It's like creatine plus, bro. It makes your workouts a tiny bit better.
Tiny bit better. Do you know what makes your workouts more than a tiny bit better? GO2 Max, Turk Builder, Ecti Builder, and these are natural supplements. He calls it creatine plus. When I take creatine, I don't even notice that I'm taking it. I surveyed over 100,000 people and I said, do you notice the benefits of creatine? 50% said no. And so 50% think creatine doesn't even work. They can't feel it. Does it mean it's not working? Of course not. But most part, people can't feel it working. And trust me, if you're on anavar and you can't feel it, you're either on a very low dose or you perhaps have no idea what you're doing in the gym.
Wrecks your liver, wrecks your cholesterol, and it doesn't do shit.
And so he says it wrecks your liver and wrecks your cholesterol and doesn't do shit. Well, in high doses, any steroid and or SARM will do the exact same thing. All of them. Is he trying to make it look like if you do D-ball, Superdrol, T-ball, Winstrol, that any of these are any better? No, they're in fact all worse. Worse! Considering that, in my opinion, Winstrol is poor man's anavar. That's right, Winstrol is much cheaper than anavar, but has worse side effects. And so why would someone use Winstrol?
It's literally the steroid for females.
And so when he says, hey, all this does is it wrecks your liver, it wrecks your cholesterol, it's made for females, and you hardly even notice it, it's giving you creatine plus effects, people are going to think, well, anavar doesn't work. And so what are they going to look for? They're going to look for something stronger. They're going to look for Winstrol, they're going to look for D-ball, they're going to look for Superdrol, perhaps Anadrol, of which these steroids are far worse. And so by saying anavar is so bad, what it's using is discouraging the use of anavar and encouraging the use of other drugs. Overall, how would I rank anavar in terms of its safety profile? I would give it a 3 on 10. 10 being very dangerous, for example, 10 being halotestin or Anadrol, very harsh in the liver, for example, a lot of side effects. I would rate it a 3. 1 being it's perfect. And so how safe is it? It's a 3 on 10. No steroid is safe, but some are safer than others. And Anavar, one of, if not the safest oral you can get.
And people talking about an anavar only cycle. You know what it also does? It nukes your testosterone. You take an anavar only cycle, your testosterone could go down by up to 50%.
No, it's going to be much worse. He's saying if you do just Anavar, your testosterone is going to go down by up to half. If your testosterone levels are at 800 nanograms per deciliter and you do an Anavar only cycle, and at the end of it, you're at 400, that would be decreasing by 50%. I'm saying it's going to be a lot worse. And so right here, he's downplaying the side effects. One of the worst side effects of taking Anavar is it causes suppression. If you take especially a high dose Anavar cycle, your body's own production of testosterone is going to go down. And why? Well, because you're getting the androgenic anabolic benefits of taking an exogenous steroid. Anavar is from outside the body, and so what happens is your balls, they go on vacation. I'm thinking, if you're gonna swallow this, inject this, whatever, then we don't need to produce testosterone. And so they relax and they go on vacation. Your balls, they get smaller, you produce less testosterone. And so once you go off of that cycle, what do you think's gonna happen? You're gonna feel like dog shit. Your testosterone levels are now down. They're crashed. And so what do you then need to do? It's known as a PCT, post-cycle therapy. And what is that for? To get your testosterone levels back up. And so one of the dangerous problems of using performance-enhancing drugs, namely steroids, including Anavar, is that it suppresses your own body's natural production of testosterone. If you could take Anavar and keep your testosterone elevated the entire time, well, it wouldn't be all that bad. You'd then have to be looking for, is it really damaging my liver all that much? It's not very hepatotoxic. That means damaging to the liver. Anavar is one of the safest ones on your liver. And so if you're on an Anavar only cycle and not using very abusive doses, perhaps you're using 10 or 20 milligrams a day, you're not going to notice all that much damage to your liver. Perhaps for every 10 milligrams of Anavar, it's equivalent to the damage done by drinking 1 beer. Many people are drinking 1 or 2 beers a day. If you were to stop drinking 1 or 2 beers a day and replace that with 10 to 20 milligrams of Anavar, your liver values would probably be about the same. And so in the end, is Anavar really all that dangerous? I don't think so. For the most part, many doctors prescribe these drugs. Remember, I've coached thousands of athletes at phone consults with people who've had doctors prescribe Anavar around the world. Some doctors, they make no sense, however. I can't stand behind what some of them say, but remember, I am not a doctor. I know some HRT clinics prescribing 50 milligrams of Anavar a day taken in divided doses, 25 milligrams in the morning, 25 milligrams in the afternoon. That to me seems like a lot. Other HRT clinics that are more reasonable, 10 to 15 milligrams a day. And so what can adding Anavar do? Well, it makes the testosterone using more bioavailable. The testosterone that you inject, it's not all being used. If you're injecting 140 milligrams of testosterone a week, as way I am, this is my HRT dose. If I were to add in Anavar, more of the testosterone, it's going to be able to work. And so it has a synergistic effect. That means 1 + 1 = 3. A little bit of Anavar, a little bit of testosterone, you're going to get much better results. I am not on Anavar. And I can tell you right now, Anavar was my favorite oral steroid. I miss it. I miss taking it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to bullshit you. If you use this drug, you're probably going to like it and you're not going to want to stop taking it. This is the harsh reality. This is the truth. I'm telling you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. And so when he says it's going to reduce your testosterone by up to 50%, I'm thinking, yeah, I can handle that. I'm going to take 60 milligrams of Anavar a day. I'm going to get impressive gains. My bench press is going to go by 50 pounds. And my testosterone levels, well, they're at 800 now. It might go down to 400 at worst. I can live with that. Still having testosterone levels of 400 or 500, not really a big problem now, is it? But what if he'd said it's going to decrease your testosterone levels by a minimum of 50%? What then? If you're at 800 milligrams now, and after 12 weeks you're at 80 milligrams, what now? Well, you're probably going to need HRT or at the very least post-cycle therapy.
And people talking about an anavar-only cycle. You know what it also does? It nukes your testosterone. You take an anavar-only cycle, your testosterone could go down by up to 50%.
What else do you need to know about anavar? You've watched this stupid little video, perhaps on TikTok, Instagram, whatever. It's 30 seconds long. You really think you're going to get enough information? Well, let's talk about why so many people prefer using anavar, namely females. Well, the reason is because anavar is very high in terms of its anabolic effects, in terms of its being androgenic. Anabolic is how much muscle does it build, and androgenic is how much does it turn you into a man. Are you going to grow a beard? Are you going to have a deeper voice? Are you going to grow your Adam's apple? Is your private area going to grow thicker and bigger than last time? And the answer is for anavar, it's not all that bad. I'd give it about a 3 on 10. It's relatively safe. It doesn't cause as much virilization. That means it's turning into a man as much as many other steroids. And so, for example, in comparison, instead of taking anavar, if you were to take halotestin, or if you were to take D-bol, it's going to be far worse. If you're a girl taking these drugs, there's a much greater chance that you're going to sound like a man. You're going to grow a beard. You're not going to enjoy the changes that it makes. When you're a female, what you're looking for is something that's very anabolic. It builds a lot of muscle, but very low on the androgenicity scale. It's not very androgenic, and so what it allows you to do is keep your femininity. If you want to look like a female, to look beautiful, perhaps you're competing in a women's bikini competition, you're essentially a model, you're not going to want to look like a man. You're not going to want to lose your hair. You're not going to grow a beard. You want to have the same voice that you've always had. Now remember, in lower doses, it's relatively safe. It's probably not going to be harmful. But as the dose goes up, so do the results, but also the negative side effects. And so what can you do to be safe? Well, for females in particular, you should be taking your anavar in divided doses. What that means is you shouldn't take it all at once. Let's say your coach says to take 10 milligrams a day. Because it has a half-life about 10 and a half hours, rather than taking it once a day, you're smarter to take it twice a day. So for example, if you get up at 8 in the morning, you take 5 milligrams at 8, and 8 to 12 hours later, somewhere between 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock, you take the other 5 milligrams. If possible, you take some of the anavar before going to the gym, as if you take it 1 to 3 hours before the gym, it's going to be in peak effect. It's going to help you get a bigger pump, be stronger in the gym, feel better than friggin' last time. But remember, if that dose is too high, if you take all of it at once, for example, your blood levels are going to spike. If it spikes too high, above a certain point, that is when you're going to have negative side effects. Perhaps this is the point where you can take with no negative side effects. You take a little bit of anavar and you're below that effect. You take a lot of anavar, you're higher. Now, if you split the dose into divided doses, you can remain below that pivot point where you're in the danger zone where you're going to get negative side effects. These side effects, they happen slowly over time. The good news, if you do in fact notice this happening, normally you're going to get a scratchy voice. It's going to sound like you're sick. Your throat's going to just simply not feel proper anymore. If you stop right away, you stop now on that day, you're probably fine. You're probably going to reverse all those problems and you're going to walk away without experiencing permanent side effects. But if you keep going, if your coach is with you, he's pushing you and saying, it's only 6 more weeks to the competition, just hang in there, you're going to win. If you keep going, the side effects, they're going to become permanent. Perhaps you're growing an Adam's apple, you're growing facial hair, your voice is getting deeper. These side effects can become permanent. And so is it worth it? I tell you not. Take your time. Remember, the lowest dose that makes you happy. How strong is anavar? Well, for the most part, it's going to help you build muscle at 2 to 10 times the speed that you're gaining right now. And so how can that be? Let's consider this. There's roughly a linear relationship in growth, particular for females, from 1 milligram to 10. And so what does that mean? It means that if you take 2 milligrams, you're going to get double the gains if you take 1. 10 milligrams, double the gains of 5. After this, you're experiencing the law of diminished returns. You may, in fact, double the dose to 20. You're going to get more muscle than 10, but not twice the results. But the problem is that those gains come at a cost. Everyone is different depending on your genetics. And so the higher the dose, the greater the risk. Now remember, the risk for females is virilization. There are, of course, other risks. For example, your liver, your cholesterol, heart attacks, and so on. But primarily women are worried about their voice. Men taking anavar, not very risky. It's not going to cause water retention. You're not going to have gyno. Essentially, you're going to be more vascular, more pumped, and have fuller looking muscles. What kind of results can you expect? Well, you can expect double to 10 times the gains of when you're natural. But why does it vary so much? Well, it depends on your dose. If you're only taking 1 or 2 milligrams, expect about double the results you're making right now. But if you take 10 milligrams, probably expect 10 times the results. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if you're getting 10 times the result, it means that in 1 month of training, it'll feel like and look like you made 10 months of gains. And so imagine this, you're on 10 milligrams of anavar a day, and you train for a month, and it looks like you've been training for 10 months. And so the results are faster than last time. But if you're on a very low dose, 2 milligrams, you're not going to notice quite the same results, but you are going to know some. And so in comparison to a low dose of anavar, you will experience the same thing with Turk Builder. In terms of how much muscle you're going to put on, you're going to notice the same thing. However, with Turk Builder, you'll notice more aggression. You're going to be able to attack the weights more so than when you're on anavar. You're going to get similar pumps, but remember, anavar never affected my sleep. With Turk Builder, it made it very difficult for me to go to sleep. Over time, it seemed to get better, but I caution you, if using Turk Builder, try not to take it later in the evening. If you can't get to sleep, how are you going to make the progress? And it simply won't be worth it. Turk Builder is very, very strong, and it's not banned by water. You can use it in drug-tested competitions. Anavar, on the other hand, not allowed in sporting competitions. If you're using it, you will in fact fail the drug test. Now, in terms of side effects, it's dose dependent. And consider this analogy. If you drink 1 beer, you can probably go and drive. You probably won't fail a breathalyzer. You probably will know how to drive your vehicle. You'll have slight impairment, but probably not enough to prevent you from driving. But what if you have 10 beers? You're drinking and driving. You're going to crash your car. It's horrible. And so the same thing applies with anavar. If you take only 1 capsule, it's 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, whatever, perhaps you're going to get away with it. You won't have any negative side effects. But if you take 10, what do you think is going to happen? You're asking for trouble. Now, in terms of how does it compare in women versus how does it compare in men? In women, it's 10 times stronger than in men. For quick reference, for easy comparison, it's 10 times stronger. And so if you're a woman, your girlfriend or friend, or you're coaching someone and you're telling that athlete, just take 10 milligrams of anavar a day, and you're thinking, that is so low, why even bother? It's nothing. Some people say, wow, that is nothing. In a man, it's like doing 10 times that amount. And so if your girlfriend is taking 10 milligrams of anavar, it's about equivalent to when you take 100 milligrams of anavar. And so I'm not telling you to take 100 milligrams of anavar, but I have. And let me tell you, if you're on 100 milligrams of anavar, you know it, you can feel it, you're building a ton of muscle. And so any girl out there that's on 10 milligrams of anavar thinking, oh, it's not working, I'm not building a muscle, are you training right? Have you examined how much you're pressing in the gym? Has your scale increased? Are you eating a proper diet? Anavar, it's not a fat burner. You know how many guys are trying to get their girls to take anavar to help them lean out, to burn some body fat? Anavar, it's not a fat burner. G-Shred is a fat burner. It's specifically designed to help you to burn fat. You take G-Shred, it boosts your metabolism, you have more energy, you're going to burn more calories, it's helping you to burn fat. GO2 Max, not a fat burner, but indirectly it can help you to burn fat because it's going to allow you to perform cardio at a faster pace, give you more energy, and so on. And so indirectly, it's burning fat. And so similar to GO2 Max, Anavar, it's not a fat burner, but it definitely can help you to get leaner. And why? Well, I'll tell you why. Nutrient partitioning. When you take Anavar, a lot of the calories you're consuming are being converted into muscle tissue. And so it's turning into muscle rather than turning into fat. And so because of this, the net equation of calories in, calories out, it's increasing the calories out. The calories that you're consuming are going out into the muscle. And so rather than having a bunch of calories to turn into body fat, you're now into a deficit. And so because of that, it's easier to get leaner when taking Anavar. And so if you have a girl and she's eating at maintenance, let's call it 1,800 calories a day, and she adds in Anavar and does the exact same thing, the same training, the same cardio, makes no difference, she's going to get leaner. Why? Because a lot of those 1,800 calories are turning into muscle. Let's call it 300 calories a day. If 300 of those calories are turning into muscle, it has the same effect as if you had burnt off 300 calories through cardio or if you had eaten 300 calories less. And the beauty of this is those 300 calories are turning into muscle, which is also adding into your metabolism. With more muscle, you're going to burn off more calories. Every time you move, every time you fidget, when you do cardio, when you lift your weights, you're burning more calories. And so because you're on Anavar, you built more muscle. Because you burnt more muscle, you have a faster metabolism, a faster metabolism allows you to burn more calories. And so by taking Anavar, you're literally able to burn fat easier than last time. But what's the problem? The problem is many people, they just bulk up. I'm on Anavar, I need to eat more. And so technically you do need to eat more to maintain your body fat percentage, but if you're trying to lean out and look better, you should eat approximately the same amount of calories. And so if you're 100% natural and you go on Anavar, I suggest you don't change your diet. If you don't change your diet, what you're going to notice is you're going to lose body fat and build muscle at the same time. And so at the end, you perhaps weigh exactly the same. It'll be a different the same. You get it? You'll have more muscle at a lower body fat percentage. You'll have a better pump, more vascularity. And so when you're at the gym, training, or in a bodybuilding competition stage, you're going to look leaner and fuller than last time. How popular is Anavar really? Well, in my opinion, it's the most popular oral you can get. It is the most popular by far. I don't know any oral steroid that people want to get after more. And so when I hear a guy say, oh, it's horrible, it's so weak, it's just for girls, I'm thinking, really? Most men that I know of, remember, I used to sell this stuff years ago. I'm a professional bodybuilder. This is what people want. They want Anavar. And why? Well, because it works. And the safety profile, well, it's safer than most steroids. The stuff works and it's relatively safe. And so what are the drawbacks? What are the negatives? Well, it's expensive. It costs more than other steroids, but why? Well, think of it. It's more popular. It's in higher demand. More people want it. And so what does that do to the price? It drives it up. Law of supply and demand. If everyone wants Anavar and less people want a different steroid, more people are going to want to buy Anavar and therefore the price goes up. Another problem. Half the Anavar out there, it's not real. And so on its is it real scale, I'm getting a 5 on 10. About half of it is fake. And so remember, for men, it's not that big a deal. Let's say you bought Anavar and by accident or on purpose, it's actually Winstrol, or perhaps it's Turinabol, or perhaps it's even D-bol. In the end, you're probably still going to put on muscle. You're perhaps going to look more watery, might get gynecomastia. But in the end, you're probably going to survive. But for a woman, if you're expecting to buy Anavar and it's Winstrol or it's D-bol or it's something else, you perhaps are growing a beard. Your voice is going to change. You're not going to have a positive experience. And so please be careful. If you notice these negative side effects happening, you have to stop faster than last time. Just because you got it from your best friend, your buddy, doesn't mean it's real. It might look real, it might feel real, it might smell real, it might taste real, but it's not. Ultimately, you don't know. Remember, these are not legal in all countries. Now, I should warn you, steroids are not legal in every single country. I'm from Canada. It's legal to buy steroids, to use steroids. In the United States, it's illegal to buy and use steroids. So, depending on your country, do not take or use steroids. Never, ever break the law and only use them with the advice and consent from your own doctor. And I am not your doctor. My advice, please be careful. Only use what you need. Use the lowest dose possible. And if you watch my video from 7 years ago, you'll see me repeatedly saying, don't do it. Don't use steroids. Don't use them. But I do say, I know that even though I'm warning you and saying you shouldn't do it, some people are still going to do it. And so what do? Well, my opinion is better to educate. With knowledge comes power, the power to choose. If I don't provide this information, you're going to get it elsewhere. And perhaps it's going to be from some teenager guy in his early 20s that doesn't know what he's talking about. Perhaps he doesn't have any experience. He hasn't coached thousands of athletes, hasn't done the research, doesn't have any formal education. And so although many of you are going to say, you're just promoting steroids, you did a video on Anavar. Does it really sound like I'm promoting it, or do I not sound like I'm just teaching you the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly? I'm not telling anyone to take Anavar. You know it can shut you down, it can suppress you. It can be horrible for your blood work depending on if you're predisposed, if you have the genetics that are not for using steroids. Remember, I've seen some athletes that even in low doses, they have horrible side effects. Other people, high doses, they don't seem to have any side effects. But in the end, even if you get your blood work done, you don't know the damage that you've done. I abused steroids for 10 years. Will I in fact live longer than last time, or did I do some damage that I will only find about in the near future? The risk is is there, but ultimately it's up to you. My advice, wait until you've reached your natural genetic limit. That might happen when you're in your late 20s, 30, for example. There's no way it's happening when you're a teenager. If you're a teenager, you have so many newbie gains left on the table, you shouldn't be using my supplements. Now, if you're in your 20s, you can of course get harder than last time supplements like G-Test to boost your natural testosterone, Turk Builder, Ecti Builder, GO2 Max, we talked about these, creatine, which is 50% off, protein powder, the Seco protein bars, they are absolutely amazing. And if you want to get the cookbooks, the training books, the Circle Diet book, all this stuff, code Greg, 15% off. Hopefully you enjoyed this educational video about Anavar. If you want more of these, please leave a comment in the comment section saying this is the kind of videos you want. This is what you want to see more of than last time. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm, and like this video if you liked it. It'll boost the algo. Watch one of those two bloops, and of course, cookbooks, training books, coaching plans by me and my team, the Circle Diet book, also the Harder Than Last Time clothing line. Also, no money, free diet and training program. You get over to the website, get it for free. Also, join the 300,000 plus newsletter subscribers. And until next time, I am out.